Good to talk to you again. Let's talk first about that situation between Dublin and Cork Airport, that we could get more flights because of the cap on on Dublin Airport. That looks good for Cork, doesn't it?
It looks good for Cork. I'm not sure the cap is the reason that Cork will get extra flights. But what Cork has in place is a serious plan to attract different carriers. The way aviation is working at the moment, increasing. The old days when an airline looked at the route and said, can we make money out of this? And usually the second year are long gone. What they look for is incentives to make a route profitable before the passenger numbers or the prices they can charge justify that. So that's really what Cork are moving fast on. The issue of the cap is a little bit more complicated, PJ, and I'll tell you why. The airlines, there's quite a few of them went looking for winter slots. They would include United, they would include Air Canada, they would include Hainan, the Chinese carrier, Turkish. They're not really ever going to come to Cork. The Cork is not going to get transatlantic flights or long-distance flights. What it will get, though, is particularly Ryanair. It's basing more aircraft there, and that every time Ryanair base an aircraft, it means that you're getting the first flight out in the morning and the last flight in the evening. That's pretty important for those people going to London or Amsterdam or whatever. And you also get the extra routes out of Cork. They have about 55 routes. I'll have to check that at the moment. There is potential to run 80 or 90 routes. I think the way it has been framed in most of the papers this morning is Dublin flights are coming to Cork. That probably is misreading the situation somewhat.
So what you might have, and I know Cork Airport, they make a big deal, and rightly so, on their connectivity with the big hubs across Europe. And they'll pretty much say, you tell us where you want to go and we'll get you there, starting in Cork. There could be an opportunity for them to develop that.
You see, a lot of Cork routes, I've seen a lot of Cork routes fail over the years because they weren't well supported. So when you get, airlines arriving in Cork and setting up a service to a major city, it tends to last a year or 2 years and then frither away. Now, one of the reasons is that you need a frequency. It's not much point having one flight a day to a major hub, because if your inbound flight to Amsterdam is late and you miss your Cork flight, you wouldn't have an option to the following day, whereas in Dublin you have 7 or 8 options. Now, Amsterdam's a very good example because it's almost the transfer destination of choice for Cork people. Much more so, I notice, much more so than Heathrow. They've a plethora of flights to Heathrow. The 20 past 8 has been cancelled at the moment due to the Aer Lingus work to rule, but they have good frequencies to Heathrow, good frequencies to Amsterdam, less so to Paris, and the services to Paris have come and gone over the years. Madrid, they're the cities you want more than one flight a day. So if you had, for instance, a strategy of 4 flights a day from Cork to the major hubs, and I'd include Madrid in the major hub because of the South American connections, that goes both ways. That means that people who really don't want to fly, if you're a tourist flying to Ireland, you really don't want to land in Dublin and try and find your way to where the honeypots are, which are Cork, Kerry, places like that. You would love to fly into Cork, and that frequency of flights to the major hubs is really important in the development plans for Cork. Obviously, the sun routes out of Cork, people would, there are volumes going to Canary Islands, to Malaga, to Faro, and there are other places that could be developed with daily flights or for 2 or 3 weekly flights.
They got Greece back this year, another anxious for Turkey as well.
Yeah, and Turkish Airlines, very strong airline, trying to expand in Dublin. They've asked about Cork. They certainly are being asked, and they're thinking of it. And with some of the other regional carriers from Turkey are also looking at Cork for Cork Antalya services, things like that. So the volume market out of Ireland, more than 70% of all our Sun Holidays listeners will not be surprised, end up in just 2 countries, Spain and Portugal. And the Greece and Turkey and places like that, trying to get a little bit into that market. The Greece is not really a low carrier. Ryanair haven't cracked to the same extent that they have Spain and Portugal. So you're looking at operators like TUI, their services.
Yeah.
And you're also looking at what the regional airports in Spain and Portugal what incentives are on the both sides of that, because the likes of Lisbon and Porto and Asturias, Santiago de Compostela, all of those which are outside the traditional Malaga trunk routes that we know from Ireland, all those are potential places for Cork to have services to, yes, as well as more frequent services to the big cities.
Yes, because I know that they say, and I have a chat with their marketing man and their communications man, Barry Holland, frequently about this, and they'll say, look, wherever you want to go in the world, you can start from Cork. That's a big thing for them, and they want to make more of it.
You know, there's always been the sense that Cork was relying on Heathrow as, you know, everywhere you went, you started off Cork to Heathrow. That doesn't need to be the case at all. With the new economics of aircraft, with the fuel burn, the lower fuel burn, and the longer reach of the short haul, what used to be the short haul aircraft, and the strength of Ryanair. We've got to remember, even though only 8% of Ryanair's business is in Ireland nowadays, he's very loyal to Ireland. And it's an international airline. As I say, only 8% of the business in Ireland, headquartered in Dublin. He will do anything he can for Cork. He'll drive a hard bargain, as he always does, but he's talked about basing more aircraft in Cork. He also says that mightn't continue, because when Michael O'Leary goes, who knows who the next chief executive will be and whether they'll be as loyal to Ireland. And you've also got to remember that you used to have the sort of the bedrock of Aer Lingus being the national carrier. It's now effectively a Spanish airline. So we need to move, and we have those two airlines very focused on growing the Irish inbound tourist market and serving people of Ireland outbound as well. They do go hand in hand. Sometimes tourism ministers try to separate them, but when you've got a strong route out of a city, it works both directions. In fact, airlines don't like a mix of 70% inbound, 30% outbound. That's the sort of thing that happens in Shannon. They like it to be about 50 in each direction. So Cork has a plan. It's got the potential to grow. It's the airport is probably located on the wrong side of the city for a lot of people, but the road network and all that has made access to that easier.
And it's up a mountain as well, which doesn't help it foggy or different.
Not good for fog.
Lastly, in 1 quick minute, we've done a lot earlier on the Labour Court recommendation and how quickly the airline accepted it. How would you feel? Would you be optimistic that the pilots will go with this? Just off the top of your head.
Not entirely optimistic. I think they have got their mandate for a strike. They may, and I'm only speculating, say this is the start. The 18%, they wanted 24. The airline said 12. The Labour Court came down the middle, 18%, changed the deal from 3 to 4 years. Now, what IALPA's executive is going to say, do we recommend it or not? They vote solidly for what the executive says. I do think there's a danger that they will take this as the starting point of a new set of negotiations, saying we've got 18, how much better can you do? They're very militant, more militant than I've ever seen the pilots union in Ireland, and we are going to have, even without the process being ramped up, we're going to have another round of cancellations, including that 25-day Cork Heathrow flight. Another 4 days or 5 days or 7 days, because Aer Lingus are still trying to keep things going in a very, very tight regime.
Well, Eoghan, you have a habit of being right. On this occasion, I know that both myself and my listeners would like you to be wrong, but only time will tell. Thank you very much, Eoghan Corry.